Well, willkommen, bienvenue, and welcome to Ero's F3. It's time for the next race in our championship. We're heading out to the Circuit de Catalunya in Spain, and my name is Webbo. I'm your regular commentator. I'm very pleased to welcome a guest co-commentator and fantastic, usually very high-value interviewee after races. It's Josh Unknown. Hey, Josh.
How you doing? You good?
All good, yeah. Very pleased to have you with us. What are you looking forward to most today with these drivers?
Well, Ero F3 Spain is actually my debut last year, so looking forward to see some familiar faces going ahead again around Spain. It's a very tricky track with traction and all of that shenanigans, so I'm looking forward to see how people maintain the strategy in the end of the stints and how everyone just keeps it level as they go around and keeping the pace throughout their stints, pretty much.
Absolutely, yeah. So I'll just take you through the championship standings right now. At the moment, we have our leader is Konis, who is on 204 points with 6 wins to his name, and he is 95 points ahead of number 2 in the championship. I don't think he can quite win it today because of the 95 point difference. We've got a total of 6 races, including this one, left till the end of the season. So he leads Edzak, who is on 109, with just the 1 win for Edzak, 3 third places, and then Pangrio missing from the last 3 races due to a work clash, I believe, and he rejoins, I think, today, and he's in 3rd place currently on 106, so very tight for the 2nd, 3rd, and then the 4th place driver on 104 is Bankst in the Ferrari, with Maciek not too far behind, but both the Ferrari drivers, no wins for them yet, 2 wins for Pangrio. So that means in the Constructors' Championship that McLaren lead the way with a good margin, 282 to 203 for Ferrari, and then just mostly down to the driving of Edzak in the AlphaTauri, their 3rd place on 169. So that's how things stand. I don't think Konis can win it today, but he's not. But he's got one, well, maybe 2 or 3 fingers on the trophy, shall we say?
Yeah, with F3, we've always seen for the last few seasons, there's always been someone up top managing to break away from the rest of the grid.
Yeah.
Hopefully for next season, we manage to see with new tiers leveling out and new lineups, we manage to see a bit of a more challenging top 3 or 4, maybe even 5 next season. I know how Konis is feeling. I was in F3 once I was moved up to F2 after the same kind of predicament after the middle of the season, where I was just upping my pace, and so is Konis by the looks of it, as in his last 2 races he's won both, obviously in the Emilia-Roman Grand Prix and the Hungarian Grand Prix. Hopefully he'll be thinking to do Spain as well. We've got Belgium, Mexico coming up soon, which I'm sure he'll be looking forward to. Same as the rest of the grid. Both very fun tracks to drive for me personally.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, completely agree. So just for the avoidance of any doubt, I'll just reiterate to anyone watching that that Waffles is who we know as Fry Pepper. So no panic. Where is Fry Pepper was the big question going around last week. And I know he's a friend of yours as well, Josh. So Fry also lets me know that it's going to be a dry qualifying, but rain in the race. So that should make life a little bit more interesting in Circuit de Catalunya, which is always pleasant to get something else thrown a spanner in the works. Out there already runs Sosa. He's the first one out. A very dusty-looking pit lane, actually. Very cloudy on his way out of the pits. We've also got a poll in the live chat, so vote for who you think will win today, and do let us know on that one. And if your first choice isn't there, type it in. Tell us who you're here supporting and who you think is going to win. Welcome to Flying Croat, to Garbage Man, who join us. I think Garbage Man is here supporting Konis possibly. Yes, but here just to confirm rain in the race. So we'll perhaps do a track guide on board Sousa if you're up for it, Josh.
Yeah, sure.
When we get there, how's your racing season been going so far?
Not very well. I've been struggling myself with motivation for this game. Obviously this year I dedicated to the line off for being an F1. It's been strugglesome. It's a lot more tedious than I expected. I know it'd be strugglesome, but slowly getting there, and hopefully I'm putting my allegiance for season 7 to try and better myself there. But I'll give you a rundown of Sofa's first lap,
Awesome.
session. And gaining speed is quite crucial around the last corner, because the start line is very early in comparison to tracks like Brazil today. Getting on the curb, not much there on the entry for him, but he is taking a lot of the turn 1 and 2 curves, which you ideally want to take. Drifting out a bit wide, a lot of understeer for many drivers around that corner. Doesn't take it as tight as usual, but he gets on the exit curve good enough. Takes a nice tight line around this corner, which is actually a choice between drivers. You can take quite wide as well also. A tricky corner for me where I find a lot of understeer there. That left-hander is the right is not engaged at all, going around that long right-hander in the first sector. As he comes around the fast turn and he gets on the curve and makes it pretty well, pretty stable. 100 meters here, a nice apex, getting half and half on the curve. Not for him though, he decides to stay on track, as Giroud is really
it's really in the way here.
Yeah.
Oh,
right, yeah. That'll be a penalty.
Actually, Sousa's paled out of his lap. He's not happy with it. While you were saying tricky corner out of turn 5, it looks like that's where Kaisachi lost the car and took a corner off. So Kaisachi out of our session, won't start higher than the back. Edzak goes in pole immediately. Sousa backed off and got in a banker of 120.9, but Edzak's gone on a 17.4. Quickly beaten by Pachuca in the McLaren, a 16.8. And there's quite a few cars out there on lap times at the moment. One of the Ferraris is about to put in a lap, I believe. Is that Banks just about to finish? No, in fact he's starting.
I'd also like to say, with the tyre choices, everyone is picking soft, so it makes me believe that rain is going to be at the start of the race. Otherwise we might see some medium runners trying to run out until the rain, but obviously it looks like the rain's going to be coming quite early for us, and going to give us a nice interchangeable period in the middle of the race.
Well, let's keep an eye on what Konis is doing, our championship leader. Will he consolidate his lead in the championship? We'll see as he progresses into the quick turn 4, the Repsol turn, and then down the hill into the turn 5 hairpin.
Off for Gongat there.
Okay, he's currently lying P3, Gongat. So one of Konis' native to Empire teammates. That's we get a lot of N2E love going on in the F3 live chat, which is good to see. Edzak goes P6. I'm expecting a little bit more out of him tonight. Konis looking a little bit ragged, perhaps, maybe just reflecting the lack of grip on the circuit at this early part of the session. A 16.1 though, that's quite handy at this stage. Very nice. Flying Crow asks, is that Josh from League of Old? And I say, yes, it is indeed. This is Josh with us. We've had a request if you might be able to turn your mic up or move it a little closer to you. I can always move mine away slightly if that's impossible.
No, so I did turn it down because I do pick up a bit of background noise, but probably the best feature of the PS5 is the onboard mute button on the controller.
Nice. Yeah, so we'll hopefully get you a little bit more of Josh's voice as Giroud goes into P2 in the custom livery Red Bull here. 16.4 for Giroud, but we're kind of expecting that some slightly selfish track positioning that ruined Sousa's lap might be a problem. It would be... The onus is on Sousa to report it, though, Josh, right? It's not slam dunk.
It's not slam dunk unless a steward themselves has seen it
Yeah.
and decide to act upon it themselves. But obviously, as commentators, I'm not essentially going to go snitch. So yeah, it will be up on Sousa to choose whether he wants to. A lot of the times, drivers do give leniency when it comes to situations like that. But I think how blatant it was. Giroud nearly getting in the way of Maciek there, switching across lanes. But yeah, it's really depending on Sousa what he chooses to do with that. And I can't change my mic audio for some reason. It doesn't let me when we're streaming, so I've brought Mike a bit closer, so it should be okay.
You're a little louder in my ear, so hopefully that'll be good enough for the stream. If not, so I can turn mine away and people can just turn the whole volume up. Pachuca currently on an outlap, just touring around. He was going relatively quickly, and we'll just join Casper in the Aston Martin, who's going quicker, but he's just drifted out around turn 3, way off the circuit. So I thought he was going for it, but he looks like he's not. He's on a cool down. Similarly, Maciek, 1:17.514, his top time. I think he's working the wheel pretty furiously at the moment. So
you could just start in his lap as well while Miguel's just coming out of the pits.
Nice.
Big problem around Spain with the tyres is deciding whether you want to go for that full pressure or not. Obviously, it's going to be hard with the overheating, but you need the performance in the first part and the end part of the stint.
Yeah,
I've tried and tested myself, and thanks to Funky as well for testing with me. We've seen that with the lower pressures, it's a lot nicer in the first half of the stint, but once you get into that second part of the soft stint, it's really rough on your overall pace compared to other drivers. But with the rain in this race, I'm curious to see whether the soft stint is a little bit less. Well, we're going to have rain at the start, I believe, so wondering how far in we're going to go until we do get a dry stint. Maybe we'll see the softs come in at the end, where they'll have a bit more performance than usual at the start of the race, with the lower fuel in the cars, the lighter and more agility in the cars, and hopefully see better pace overall from them because of that. We might end up seeing some medium stints, but we'll have to wait and see for that.
Really interesting to see. Edzak goes P5 on a 16.9, and just as you were talking there, we had Casper and followed immediately by Maciek, both invalidating across the apex of turn 8, just grabbing too much on the way up the hill, and both did exactly the same thing. See Pezzi here. Pezzi I've not commented it over before, so he's possibly debuting in the league, or at least just reserving for us. Sometimes we invite F4 drivers to step up. He's just over a tenth faster than he's been before. Gets a purple first sector. He's got Miguel on the track in front of him, slightly too early in apex in the hairpin, and just runs wide slightly. Can he navigate turn 8 better than the previous two cars? Yes, he can. Keeps his left front just outside of the track limits. Yeah, big lift through turn 9. Oh, it's confirmed from the boss who's watching along. Pezzi is debuting and joining us full time for the Alpine team in F3. A good info there from Watch. He's taken a completely different route, taking the old school route outside the chicane to use the pit lane. Kaizachi, just a little update from him. He said the game just messed his wheel up. So that's interesting. Got Pachuca just started a hot lap here.
Just jumped into P10 on his lap there.
Nice. So Red Bull currently 4th and 10th. Of course, if Sousa does end up with a decent time, he probably won't even bother to report the action of Giroud. It depends what kind of a mood he's in, I suppose. Pachuca, I think, slowing. don't think this one's going to be very special. Seeming kind of half throttle most of the lap. Konis and Pangrio are out battling again. Pangrio's dropped far enough into the 16s at 16.320. I think Konis is on track just ahead of him. He's just gone slightly quicker than he's been before. 0.02 of a second. What about Konis? We'll see him cross his first sector. He's gone purple in the first sector as well, so a real battle going on between two cars on the track right now. Just over 5 minutes left to go in the session, so time enough to go again. Pangrio invalidates. Yeah. See if Konis can carry on. Very close there. Wow. Really maximising his speed through turn 9. Another purple sector for Konis. Misses the apex of 10. Gets wide on the exit. Possibly ruin this one, Josh.
Yeah, the little fishtail coming out of the hairpin, I think, would have cost him too much time. He was only half a tenth up on his time before that, so I don't think that's going to help him yet as he does come into the pits.
Not happy with that one, was he? Giroud's hanging around on the track, just trying to get a good start of his lap, but potentially Banks. No, he's invalidated another lap. Decided not to go in the pits, so perhaps he invalidated early and is going for it later in the... going for a second run. Maciek is 2/10 up.
Weird. After cooling his tyres down in the final sector, decides he's back out before he's even crossed the line.
Okay, Maciek is nearly half a second faster than he's been before, but he really needs that because his time currently is only the slowest set time. Currently only starting ahead of Kaizachi and Smitshaw, who have yet to set their times. I think Smitshaw was a little late joining quali. Maciek up to P6 then, a 16.899. We've got potentially, I would say potentially 4 drivers here, Josh, with a shout at pole.
Yeah, we've got Sucre and Giroud, which are only about a tenth away from each other. Pangrio and Sucre are very close, within a tenth of each other, obviously. Now, let's have a look at the second time for both the drivers. We've got Pangrio, who is set pretty standards across, very even. Pangrio is a bit faster in the middle sector, which is where he's getting most of his time on Sucre, and in sector 3 he is actually just a bit slower than Sucre, so it's all coming down to sector 1, which is being a difference between the 2 laps.
Okay, so Waffles is starting a lap in the Haas. It certainly wouldn't be the first time in Ero F3 that we've seen an all McLaren front row. If Pachuca can just get that tiny improvement relative to Pangrio. I think Waffles has invalidated this second lap as well. So, yeah, just going to go for a slow one. But Edzak is on track. We'll get his first sector very shortly. It's got a little bit of traffic on this lap though.
Second Aston Martin driver finally decides to come out of the pit box.
So I think he might have been late to quali, but yeah, he's left it till maybe just one opportunity.
Nice to see him not putting out the tyres on his outer lap, because you literally do have to go this slow.
Wow.
To not overheat, because if you're in that last sector with too hot front or rears, it takes so long just sitting still to cool them down, and with traffic going behind you in a full quali session, it's really not a good place to be in. So doing the right thing and making sure they're A-OK before he gets into the tricky technical sector.
Edzak had a purple middle sector and has just backed himself right out of turn 12, ended up hitting the barrier, the rear of the car, jumping off the ground in fact, and he'll be kicking himself for that one, because that's a big issue. Giroud's just wiped out as well on the exit of turn 2. Crazy place to lose the car. Giroud won't go any faster than that, so we've got Pachuca next of our fastest drivers, fastest 3 now we're down to in this shootout for pole. This is the last chance.
On his current lap as well, coming into the third sector.
A little bit of traffic just possibly taking his mind off that one, and that's not going to help matters at all. So advantage Pangrio, who can now fully focus on going for pole. He's 700ths faster than he's been before through the first sector. That's good enough for a purple. Get down into the hairpin. Be hoping that that McLaren gets out the way. Another invalidation on the exit of turn 9, and that Campser corner catching out nearly everybody today.
Pessi and Band having a collision off track there.
Ooh.
And Band gets a 5 grid penalty for it, which I don't actually believe was his fault. Band was off track in the old sector, final corner.
Yeah.
And it looks like Pessi just outbrakes himself going into the final sector. And
we've got Waffles off, have we? Waffles, yeah, exit of turn 12. Exactly where Edzak lost it. So perhaps just slightly questionable levels of grip. Different parts of the circuit today really catching the drivers out. Konis then on a charge to try and better his pole position, possibly get into the 15s. Let's see what he can do on board. We'll keep an eye on any times changing up and down the grid.
I think we will end up seeing an Alpine driver in the stewards Sosa's lap. Has not been ever so great in his quali after getting blocked in the first section of quali.
So Konis faster than anybody in the first sector so far. Of course, the track will be perfect right now, Josh.
Yeah, the track will be heating up even more, so extra grip for all the drivers. It's harsher on the tyres at the start of the lap when you're revving the rears out a bit more, but hopefully with the track combination we'll see a bit more grip in the rears and more stable temperatures in lap times.
There goes Konis, purple second sector now. So I think we could be on target to see a 15 here today in Ero F3. Certainly navigated turn 12 safely, which has been a bit of a trap for everybody. Very sweet through the chicane. Yeah. There he goes. Wow, a 2.5 tenth improvement, a 15.8, and that's everything that everybody wanted to see tonight. Konis. Pachuca has got up onto the front row. Quite sure how he's done that, but yeah, Pangrio off the track, and that only leaves perhaps Smit-Shah left to navigate a lap, but I think he's on an in-lap, so I think we have our grid. I think it's going to be another McLaren front row lockout with Pangrio and Giroud. Edzak, the only championship contender out of the top 3 here, so that's definitely a big deal for him to see. Aston Martin having a terrible qualifying session down in 15th and 16th. Not a huge amount better for Haas, 12th and 17th with the various accidents we've seen. Sosa, as you mentioned, Josh, has had a bad session, and yeah, might well go and report what happened with the Red Bull driver Giroud in the stewards.
We've seen chaos at turn 1 Spain in a dry, never mind the wet, so maybe being a little bit held back in that P13 spot might actually be a blessing in disguise, depending on how the F3 drivers take the first sector of the first lap of today's race.
Excellent stuff. Well, we've got our grid then. The Portuguese driver Konis leads from the front, leads the championship, and will lead the cars away from the grid with Pachuca behind him, Pangrio in third, Giroud in fourth place, then Miguel, Pessi, Bios, Maciek, Edzak and Banks, and then Jesper Fay, Waffles, Sosa, Gonga, Kasper, Smit-Shah and Kaizachi will start at the back of our grid. That one went past very quickly to try and get there. Results of the poll, did we get that in? 65% saying Konis will win, just 12% saying Panos or Pangrio. No one thinks Edzak has it today. But frankly, rain, potential safety cars, it can throw qualifying into something of a mockery, Josh, this season of racing.
Yeah, with the weather, we're definitely gonna be seeing some dodgy moves probably, or hopefully not. But it does bring a lot to the table when it comes to being careful, and we know that F3 has got the reputation to have a lack of that, even from when I was back in the division. So hopefully we can just get around turn 1 and 2 cleanly, everyone in the race, and see some good chances into the transition period, because that'll be where the fun starts.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure that we will have a transition period in terms of weather yet today, but we can only hope. That always makes life very interesting, because these inters, this kind of drizzle conditions, Josh, these inters can last the whole race.
They can. We've seen a few races in Ero F3 in the past. One of mine, actually, the first race of last season, I ended up doing a no-stop around Japan on, I believe it was wet, but it was similar premise, how far they went for 27 laps. With a damage win also, and I managed to luckily keep it in P5 after some stewards reports. So we've seen Selfira, a former F3 driver, who's now pushed himself back up into F2. He had an amazing stint in Hungary where he went for the majority of the race on a single set of inters until the transition period. So it can be done. I'm not sure about Spain. It's going to be humid, so the track is still going to be a little bit more for temperature than other tracks in the wet, but we never know. We call them the slick intermediates because you can run them until that point, but we'll have to see what the drivers do and what the weather does for us. There's not many puddles on the track, but it is for the majority wet. It doesn't seem to be a dry line out already, so we're going to have to see how that forms in the first few laps. The rain doesn't look too heavy compared to some other races. It looks quite light, but we're going to have to see. Safety cars can change that as well. Slower pace around the track, let the rain build up on the asphalt for a bit longer, but we'll have to wait and see with that. It's all just to our judgment at the moment.
No, completely agree. We've got Kaizachi launched a move at the inside of Smith-Schacht and took them both out of this formation lap. So that's what happened in turn 1. Very pleased to see the debuting Miguel, Pezzi and Bios doing so well on their debuts here, at least under my comms anyway. So just a reminder then, we've got Konis on the pole with Pachuca second. The McLaren teammates usually play very nice at the start, and then Pangrio, Giroud and Miguel will follow them up. We will be underway for 33 laps. I'm not sure how many of those will be wet, but get your predictions in right now on the chat. Otherwise, there's very little credit for predicting something that looks pretty likely anyway. We've got our light gantry all on. It's lights out and away we go. Ero F3 in Barcelona, and the McLarens predictably are well, very nicely indeed. We've got everybody in the top 4 going in formation with a launch move going up the inside from Pangrio, but Pachuca quite wise to it, holds his line and then continues through in grid order. I saw a car running quite wide on the entry into turn 3, Josh, but I didn't quite catch who that was, but it looks like at the front of the grid things moving away quite smoothly.
Yep, in the back half of the grid we've just seen Pesci and Ban drop a few positions. We saw nearly a 4 wide into turn 1 with Friday in the inner of the 4, as we have Pesci going back from the grid now. But we did see Waffles on the grass, manages to hold it after having a little bit of a half spin, manages to stay in P8. But other than that, quite a clean getaway. A bit of moving under braking from some drivers, a bit of moving in the straight up until the braking point. But other than that, pretty clean for an F3 race.
No, it's good. It's good stuff. It's cautious getting away from the front of the grid, as is absolutely necessary. Cold tyres and wet conditions, definitely what we needed to have a good race on our hands. Just Pesci held up with that spin, but hopefully still underway. I don't know if he needs to go in the pits for damage, but Konis leads away. Okay, great. Pangrio is pretty close to the car in front, but he won't get any DRS for a couple of laps, and I doubt he'll have the overspeed required to tackle this not particularly slow first corner, and indeed just has to follow in the wheel tracks of Pachuca. But you'll see Aero Wake pretty strong effect through those first 3 corners, Josh, today. because it really seems to affect the car's turning.
Yeah, not only that, I'm just taking a look at the Aston Martin in P13. I'm looking at their wheels to see the temperatures, and surprisingly, I can see inters in the 85 degrees and 84 degrees, I think, round the fast right-hander. So it just shows you, even with the wet floor that these tyres are rolling against, the distance of the heat is still taking its toll on tyres, and that's going to affect the tuning of the car, the understeer, and how they handle under traction.
So are you tracking that on Race Director, or you just zooming in on someone's steering wheel?
I'm just looking at someone's steering wheel, definitely not the Williams, but on someone's steering wheel. It's not always accurate, so we have to take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah.
But definitely around that first sector, that front left will be taking a kick in. The problem you have around here with the first sector being so harsh on the front left, around that fast right-hander, is the left-handers that come after it. You really have the right front disengaged and not much heat in it, so you really struggle with the understeer and the braking. Sometimes locking if you don't have a higher anti-roll bar on your setup, which is what I'm interested in as well, is what setups people have gone for.
Yeah.
We've seen in the past in Ero F1 in the wet, many went for wet setups and they were brilliant for the corners, but when it came to that main straight, the people who went with a dry setup, just you could not get past them. So I'm wondering if we see that with some of the drivers today.
Yeah, I haven't had a fully detailed forecast. It's one of the problems that we have from the commentator's perspective. Just have to rely on our drivers telling us the weather. Oh, a move from Edzak into the hairpin goes all kinds of wrong. Lets Waffles by, in fact, who was wise to it and very attentive to an offline move from Edzak. So Waffles up to P7 now. So far, pretty calm. Konis is storming away at the front. 2.9 seconds in 3 laps is pretty special in terms of his pace here, and we've got a bit of a midfield battle going on. Lots of cars close together. Pangrio 7/10 behind Pachuca, Giroud in 4th, Miguel in 5th, Bios in 6th. We ride with Waffles and Edzak 7th and 8th, and Jesper Fay and Maciek are in 9th and 10th. In terms of position change, 4 up for Waffles. Typically aggressive but successful first few laps for him. And we've got Casper and Smitshout up 3 each. Of course, Pesci, the big loser from the start of the race. But the race is very young in terms of seeing retirements or accident damage. Tends to be, we will see towards the end of stints is when the drivers start to struggle. Oh, we've got a problem. Smitshout and Banks looks like down there. So Ferrari and Aston Martin still not enjoying this race particularly. Ferrari needing to be scoring.
Damage for the Aston Martin.
Okay. Yeah. Left end plate.
With these McLaren drivers, it's probably the best outcome for them to have at the start of the race. Dirty air in the rain is probably one of the worst things to have probably as you're following a car so closely. So with Cones getting away, he's in free air, and Pachuca being so far behind, it's lovely for both the drivers to not be impeded by each other, and they can just get away. Cones has no worry of anyone behind him. Pachuca has the thought in his mind that he's got an advantage to the drivers behind, so it's a really good start for the McLaren drivers.
Yeah, Pachuca will be getting a little bit worried, I think, because Pangrio showing quite a lot of pace here, despite the fact that he's caught up in the rain spray behind the car and the aero wake. It's now down to 3/10, just showing himself in the mirrors. It's not close enough down into turn 1, but able to put the pressure on at this point, Josh.
Yeah, Pangrio does look to be putting the pressure on. He's managing to keep very close through sector 1, which is usually the hardest part for the aero and for the cars turning in, but he's getting close on the prolonged corners. The lines he's taking compared to the two are quite tight, so it's making me think.
Oh, safety car!
Example for that one.
Is that Pesci?
Yeah.
Pesci has DNF'd on the entry to turn 12. Slightly unusual place to lose it. We've seen mid-corner turn 12 losses, but it looks like Pesci, very short-lived and an unpleasant race for him so far. What do you do here
Well,
then, Josh? Do you go for a fresh set of inters while it's available to you, or they're just nowhere near worth it yet?
for the fronts, I think they need to. First of all, with Pessy's retirement, I guarantee that he's clipped the curb on the left there,
Yeah.
and he's just lost it on the rears, unfortunately for him. But yeah, for the front runners, I don't see them pitting. I think track position is much too important. You're banking on everyone else pitting behind you for you to still have that advantage. For anyone at the back who's not in the points positions or are only going to lose minor amounts of positions, it's definitely worth it just to have that extra bit of performance in the end of the stint. Obviously, these drivers can ask Jeff, and they know how long, estimated how long this run is going to stick for. So if it is going to be for a while, then yeah, definitely 5-lap younger tyres is going to come into play, especially once those treads start to wear off and it gets into the slick to immediate period. But I think, as we've seen many of them staying out, track position is definitely king.
Yeah, agreed. Well, Maciek and I think Banks, the two Ferrari drivers, both making the decision to come in for tyres. So they'll come in. The rain very steady. No real change to conditions at this point. Smitshaw driving very slowly to stay within the delta. Of course, he had that incident. I don't know if he even got round in time to repair the car. I think he did, in fact. Yeah, he got a new end plate put on, and there we have another safety car. So he'd already put new inters on. He won't bother with a new set, I don't imagine. Lap 6 then, our first safety car in this wet Spanish Grand Prix, with Konis and Pachuca leading away comfortably. Konis would be wondering why he pushed so hard to generate the gap, only to have it reduced straight back down again. Pangrio in third has looked to have the better pace than Pachuca potentially. As Casper has left the session, I wonder if that's just a disco or no, it's a full-on DNF for Casper. I haven't seen many of Casper's fan club. We often get quite a few Danes turn up, Josh, and then disappear as soon as he goes. He's out of the race again. Absolute nightmare race for Aston Martin and Ferrari so far, but the race is young, and we've seen positions drastically turn around with the intervention of safety cars. And if anyone's going to benefit from a rapid second safety car, it will be the Ferrari drivers who've got fresh tyres on at this point.
They'll be in the mood. They've got nothing to lose now, and
right.
I'm sure it'll be full send from the start of the safety car period ending. We've got Waffles holding himself in P7, which is good to see as a former teammate of his back in F3 and also in some of our other divisions across other leagues. We've got Alfa Romeo aren't doing too bad as well. Miguel is holding himself in P5, where he started. Same for the entire top 5 have stayed pretty stable to where they started. Everyone else jumping up a bit with obviously the DNFs. Pessy dropping down 11, so that's given everyone else a little jump up in the bottom 10. Kazachi not doing bad himself. Unfortunately, he's gathered that penalty, which is probably going to take him down those 5 positions which he has gained, because the margins are so small in the rain when it comes to penalties. You really want to stay away from one. Normally you'd be able to get them removed, but because it's in the first stint of the game, it looks like he's going to have to serve that in the pits when he eventually does choose to.
Yeah, agreed. So 5 racing laps we've had on these tyres, I guess, and I think the field is condensed enough for hopefully we'll get a notification shortly that the safety car will be coming in. Lots of tyre weaving going on, and what I'm hoping for here, Josh, is that our leader just makes one simple launch and doesn't confuse matters and end up with this awful concertina, because so often you see drivers running into each other at this point.
We've had many problems in F2 last season with the lack of consistency and pace leading up to the restart. But Combs there heating the rears, hold sustained pace, although it looked like he was going to launch for a second.
Yeah.
And he has launched, I believe.
Yeah, he's gone now.
Edgy on the rear.
Pangrio looking a little bit sideways on the way through, but he didn't have Giroud very close behind him, so the front 3 get away as you were.
Because actually He's lost it.
Oh no.
Straight into the wall.
Was that just a turn, the final turn tank slammer, yeah, and hits the pit wall out just before the finish line. So hopefully the marshals will get rid of that one before we get back round again and end up with another repeat safety car. Giroud's got quite a gap to Pangrio ahead, and that's just going to welcome Miguel to have a go. Be slightly reduced spray, but it doesn't look like the spray is particularly bad with the level of rain at the moment. A lot of the rain's sitting on the camera for the drivers, but not perhaps the sort of wall of spray that we often see in heavier conditions.
It's not too bad. The track seems to be doing all right. It's a bit more of a dry line forming. You get a bit of spray when you get close up, but out of that 4, 5, 10 interval, they seem to be okay.
Yeah.
It's when the wets come out is when it really gets rough, and we see Miguel there having a bit of a swing around the uphill left-hander there. Manages to catch it though, but those rears are going to be quite hot coming to the technical last sector.
It's not where you want hot rear tyres, is it?
No, definitely not with what we've seen from the final corner already. As of last lap, as Combs goes fastest, keeping his pace and gaining that gap already within 1 lap of the restart.
Yeah, there he goes. He's certainly got lots of pace in hand. I think there's a slightly controversial level of assists being used. I don't think the rest of the field are particularly happy, but he's playing to the rules, and the rules say he can use what he's using. So,
can you enlighten me on the assist restrictions for this division now?
I would love to, but because I commentate over 7 different divisions with different rules, I frequently forget.
I'm guessing ABS is one of the ones that is controversial.
I think that's probably right, but I don't want to be so specific that I end up having to correct myself later. But yeah, I think that's true.
It is a really tricky subject. Obviously, in the rain, ABS is definitely extremely beneficial because of the risk of locking up with such harsh braking, but it's what's in the game, it's how they've programmed it to be, and Ero have managed to allow it, so hit the game, not the player, I guess.
Yes, yeah, indeed. And of course the other drivers have got the option of turning it on if they feel like the championship leader is getting away too easily. Pangrio now half a second back, just stretches out to 6/10. I'm not sure we're going to get any passing at this point. It's a little bit difficult without some sort of issue. Pachuca goes to the inside of the circuit past the start-finish straight just to break the toe. Actually, Pangrio getting a good run, perhaps using a little bit of boost down this straight there, and closing right in on the back of Pachuca, just not close enough to make a move at this point.
Understeer, you can see it there.
Yeah.
With the rain, obviously, we see the battery level is a lot easier to manage. As we see some more understeer there from Giroud. Even so far back from Hungary, still feeling the effects of the understeer. But yeah, battery is it's really tough around here to use it and think that you're going to get an overtake because everyone else has got more or just enough as you. So
yeah. You're so limited with how much you can actually use the button when you're still kind of rear limited on the exit of several of the corners. You're still struggling to keep the car pointing in the straight in the right direction before you can press the button and be sure that you can hold it.
Something a lot of drivers will be missing is the engine modes. I know I do.
Yeah.
I personally loved being able to flick between the lean, rich and standard, something that we're not allowed to do this year, obviously, past it with the regulations of real F1 changing. So we'll be seeing this year, we have been seeing a lot more risky corners because we can't have that option of lowering the RPM anymore. So I think this game is a lot harder than last year. I think a lot of drivers are feeling that. I definitely am. I think my friend takes the mick and has done percentages, and I finished 30% of my races in F1. So
nice.
Yeah, so I know a lot of drivers will be feeling the effects of the new handling model, which seems to ever change week in, week out at the moment. But hopefully this is how it's supposed to be, and everyone can start to get a bit more consistent in the last few races leading up to the Season 7, which is now open for sign-ups for anyone watching who still hasn't done so yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Banks gets by Gonga, and Gonga tries to hold on down in the field, so we have had a pass. Miguel picks up a 3-second penalty there up in P5. It's not going to help him if we're very likely to have further safety cars, you imagine. Although the cars at the moment looking like grip levels are reasonably okay for handling wise. They seem like they're causing and as I say that Bios is off the track on the entry to turn 12. Yeah. Yeah, really, given that he was facing the correct direction, that was a little bit unforgivable to join the track at that precise moment. Sometimes if it's a blind rejoin, you can kind of give them the benefit of the doubt, but that one looked a little bit dodgy. Souza has a run on Jesper Fay, heading down the start-finish straight here. Will he have enough overspeed? No, he will not. Only got to within a quarter of a second as they reach the end of the straight. Looks like he has slightly less top speed, potentially, than Jesper Fay's car in front. Maciek, the next one to follow his teammate through, past Gonga, now half a second back, down there. We've had 12 laps already, and it's Konis from Pachuca as we started the race, then Pangrillo and Giroud. Also, where we started, Miguel, then Waffles up to P6, has now passed Edzak. I think that might have occurred in the pit stops. Waffles, though, gets a 3-second penalty, and they're starting to come in now. Edzak, Jesper Fay, then Souza, Banks, Gonga, Maciek, Smitshaw and Bios. Bios with that little accident just as we saw on the dodgy rejoin. Kaizachi, Kasper and Pesi were the guys who we've lost from the race so far, but we still have 14 runners, 12 laps underway. It's not a bad hit rate for a wet race.
Yeah, with the penalties as well. Usually in the wet, in past years, we would see a lot less penalties. I think we probably have a bit. If it was dry, I think we'd be seeing a lot more track extension from the guys in the cars today. But I think with it being Spain, I think it's a bit of an anomaly with the traction, and we'll probably be seeing a lot of these penalties, not particularly due to track extension and corner cutting, but more due to a bit of snap oversteering on certain exit curves where you just slightly drift the left or right over the white line, and you're kicking yourself afterwards because you know you could have avoided it. But I guarantee that'll be the cause of the majority of these penalties today. Just struggling to handle the car as we get to the latter part of the stints.
Agreed. So when will the drivers start to feel these inters going off, do you think, in this sort of level of rain? Do you think they'll go off at all, or?
Well, I'm looking at the track and it seems to be drying out. It's not as much as a glossy asphalt as we saw at the start of the race. We don't really see a dry line, which makes me think that the track around it is drying out as quick as the line is forming as well. We see in the final sector there, we can see a bit more of a darker asphalt as the cars come through, so a bit more wet around the outer lines of the racing line there. But yeah, I think give it up until 20th lap is when I think we'll start to feel it. I'm looking at the temperatures for some of the cars, and they're all stable pretty much around the 70 mark, 69 mark, which is where we would normally see the inters level out on in that nice dark green colour on the MFGs. Oh, and we've got Patuca there. Massive moment around the fast right-hander. Manages to save it, but it gives Pangrillo what he's been waiting for, and he takes the opportunity to stay ahead.
Where did it go wrong for him?
So it looked like Patuca just had a massive snap. Front end, not back end, just swings to the right as he's turning in. Maybe he's got on the power a bit too early, thinking he's got past most of the understeer in the corner, but just completely swings the nose into the right, manages to pull it back and saves it. Fun fact though, with Patuca, we can probably see that his throttle control is pretty good. He's one of the only drivers in Formula 1 that I've ever seen use the right analog as his throttle stick. He pushes up for throttle and down for
I can't be doing with that. I can't drive like that.
Pretty mental, but he's managed to save it somehow.
Yeah.
So good on him for doing so. He could have definitely cost his teammate a nice little 1-2. I think he probably has now, because Pangria has been very consistent through the race, but hopefully he can stick it out, get past those tyres being a bit shaky.
Yep.
Nerves probably a bit shaky as well, and his ego probably a bit killer, but hopefully he can keep the P3 and run back on
But
the form.
a temporary yellow flag as Gonga in the Williams lost the car, I think, on the entry to turn 9. He's back up and running, but way back in the field. Will he go into the pits? Yeah, he will. He obviously made contact, and that's not how you enter the pits. He's got a reset to track. Unfortunately, it's left him on the outside of the pit wall, or the game's decided to reset him back there. That's going to be a DNF. Yes, indeed it is. Does that trigger a safety car? And this is seeing 2 incidents on the same lap, Josh, makes me think that perhaps these tyres are at a bit of a tipping point here.
I think with that Gongax one, I think we have to blame driver error there. I think he's a bit annoyed with himself.
Yeah, well, he'd already lost the car on that earlier in the lap, hadn't he? So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit selfish for him to blast into the pits there and risk that. Because we've seen that last year. We had a driver, we won't go names, he's now banned, I think, crashed out on purpose into the pits and ended up causing a safety car, which did affect the termination of other people's races. But luckily, we've not had that with Gongax. But yeah, the tyres are definitely look to be coming out of their shells a bit and getting a bit skinned.
Well, in comes Waffles.
On the inside.
Waffles decides now's the right time to split the race in half and run a 2-stint race, single change tyres,
right,
depending.
Jesper also.
Oh right, okay. Let's have a look. How close is he going to get?
He's got to send it. Yeah, he's got the pace.
Oh, but
Daniel
Jesper
Ricciardo.
much later on the brakes, but too late, and Magic gets by quite comfortably there. Just let Jesper do what he wanted to do, and he was confident in his own track positioning.
Oh, Bios gets past Band there. Looks like Banks got a little bit pushed onto the inside, just clipping some grass with the green wall tyres.
Oh, I'm surprised we avoided a safety car there, to be honest. I thought we were headed for number 2.
Going to keep an eye on Waffles' Delta now for the leader and see what difference these fresh tyres are going to make and whether we're going to see a bit of an undercut from Waffles. Already, I can see that he's going quite a bit faster from the driver ahead Band, but obviously that's not in comparison to the drivers who he was familiar around.
Pachuca decides to go in. He's in, so he's quite happy to risk a 2-stint, a single change of tyres potentially, but give up positioning all the way from P3. Where's this going to leave him coming out of the pits as Souza comes in? There will be some drivers who fancy pushing this to a full race, but as you say, watching the delta from the leader back to Waffles is going to be the interesting one here.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be tight, I think, as we see Waffles is ahead, as many are now following the leaders here, jumping into the pits while they see their uppers do so as well.
Well, Pachuca loses 6 places in the pits there. The field had spread a little bit, but giving up a potential podium before the rest of the cars behind him made the same decision. So hoping to undercut potentially Pangrio, or at least defend from a move from Giroud.
I think Pangrio has to defend this and come in himself. I think he's going to have to forget about Konis for now.
Yeah.
Swallow his pride a bit, going for the win, and just make sure he can stay ahead and level with Pachuca. Because looking at Delta from myself, Pachuca is gaining tenths on tenths within corners on the drivers ahead.
True.
So I think Pangrio is going to be thinking about coming in to just defend his position. He doesn't. Stays up for at least another lap. We'll have to see how far he goes and how much he loses, because when he does come to that pits, or if he does decide to stay out. But
the only thing that's going to save Pangrio here is the fact that Pachuca has got quite the traffic jam ahead of him.
Yes.
3 or 4 cars all together that are going to slow him down. He got the purple middle sector there on this outlap, so obviously managed to get this up. Big step of oversteer on the way out. just a little bit greedy on the throttle, and that might well cost him a chance into turn 1. We've got a very misty camera we're looking through from the trackside camera. Pachuca going wide for a late entry into turn 3.
This is a prime example of not being used to the understeer, obviously, with him being...
Oh, launches one, little bit of wheel contact, but he really had to get on with it, Josh, and you've got to say that worked out okay.
It worked out okay for both of them. Lucky to not cause any damage to the Aston Martin, but I think, although there was a bit of contact, I think it's one you can get away with right on the limits of the rules there.
Yeah, I think if you're going to touch wheel to wheel, you are by definition alongside the car with you, and as long as nobody's pitched off into the barriers, I think it's usually all right. No major incident, and the faster car got by, so I guess probably not a lot of cause to complain. Waffles up to P9 now. He's gaining places here. Lots of penalties on the circuit as Giroud and Miguel both pit, so that leaves the option pretty clear here for Pangrio and Konis. Do they decide to run it? I wonder. I mean, Konis has obviously got the pace well in hand to make that decision if he wants to. He's got the benefit of the gap that he's generated to give him several laps to think about it. I can wait for all the information.
Ideal situation for Konis is just to come out in a place with the least amount of traffic.
Yeah.
With the time that he's already gained on the grid, and that just the general pace increase he has on the rest of the grid, it's probably not a bad idea to just let everyone get their pit stops done, have the gap, and then just come out and stay P1 or 2, and as you're waiting for your other drivers to come around, just to take away the bigger chance of anything going wrong because of drivers around them.
Well, Pachuca's pace has slowed considerably since having to get by these drivers and drive to their pace, at least for part of the circuit. Mukulits is here to watch, and Gonzalo is cheering on Konis. Welcome to both of you to the live chat. I'm sure you've been here for a while watching along. But yeah, Konis, as usual, leading, and he goes in the pits on the same lap as Pangrio. Now, it's going to be really interesting here just to see where Pangrio comes out. Will he be ahead of the battle that Pachuca finds himself struggling, as Pachuca gets by? Oh, thankfully for him, yes, Buffet pits on this lap as well. So Maciek up to P3. Will he hold on with Pangrio? But Pangrio consolidating his gap by a good amount there. You can see the McLaren just behind him and Maciek. So that one's worked out quite nicely.
Yeah, very crucial that Pangrio managed to stay ahead of Maciek there. Going around that fast right-hander, long right-hander, it definitely wouldn't have been very good to be behind the driver on the fresh tyres. You want to get the most use of them while they've just come out of the tyre blanket. And luckily just nipped him going into turn 1, and Pachuca's got another barricade to get through before he can have a chance of getting to him. But Pangrio and Pachuca's pace were very similar, and with the extra 2-3 laps that Pangrio has spare on them tyres, I think take Pachuca out of running for tier 2 at the moment, as long as Pangrio can keep it on track and keep it out of the penalties.
Indeed, but the penalties, the ever-present threat of penalties, we might ask you in a few laps to have a look at Race Director and see how many warnings people have got, because that's always good to see on the pressure side, and quite how close to the edge they're driving. Maciek has gained loads of places here by the early pit stop that he had as an option. Bankst is out of the race. Bankst has lost it on the exit of 9, I think, and we go for another safety car as several cars go past the pits. Safety car is currently in the pits, but yeah, that's safety car number 2 then. I was just going to say that Maciek has gained loads of places by making that early stop. He's got the option here to try and consolidate that lead. He's got a nice gap if Pachuca gets by, which we'd have to expect fairly soon. He's got a gap down to Giroud that's suddenly going to close now with this safety car. So
I think it's very good that Konis has just fixed. I think that could have been an issue if he hadn't. with the safety car, with the Delta having to get into the pits, I think it could have been a problem. With everyone else pitting pre-safety car. But luckily, him and Paglia just got in there before fate struck.
Absolutely. So Maciek potentially trying to rescue Ferrari's race here. Would you go in at this point while the cars are touring under safety car pace in Maciek's position?
From where he's came from, me personally, I probably would come in. I think the disadvantage on 14 laps is way too big for you to hold off with just skill and pride. But knowing him from where he's come from in this race, to go from the bottom up until the point where he's on a podium step prematurely, I think you might try and stay out just to have a bit of fun with it, with the penalty.
But the other thing is, as I can't remember though, Josh, were we feeling like his penalty was unjust, the 5-second penalty? Because if
that's why he stayed out. He
yeah,
to get that removed. I've just realised it's not a 3 second, is it?
No, it's a 5, and I think that
changes everything now. Because if he can stay, I mean, if you look behind him, all those 3-second guys, there's no chance they're getting removed because they're purely down to driver error. So yeah, even he is gonna fall. He's gonna drop like a cherry. But if he can drop slow enough to the point where he can just be in the delta of Giroux, Miguel, Waffles, and Edzak, they've still got chances to get 3 seconds. So does he. But considering he hasn't gotten any yet, I think that shows how he's going to nature the race and not get any in the future. I've driven with him myself back in F3 in season 4 and 5, and he was one of the drivers who I'd pride myself on, like myself, to not go and get penalties. He's very consistent with the track limits. He'd do his best to stay out of each other's way and just be fair. He can have some moments where he can get a bit erratic, and sometimes penalties do come from that, but he seems to be very chilled out here. And I think if he can just drop slow enough to, like I said, stay with them 3-second guys, it's a big chance he can get a good point position from nothing today.
Yeah, absolutely. Jesper Fay is likely to gain from that clean driving as well. He's down there in 9th right now, 9 seconds back from the car in front. That's just going to disappear, and he is driving clean, so he'll have the opportunity here to try and gain on at least a few of the cars ahead of him who have got penalties already. And we're only 2/3 of the way through this race.
It's going to help Maciek and Patuka's case. Combs and Pangrio, 2 warnings each.
Nice.
I don't believe any of them have had contact with drivers, so I'm very sure that they're due to start limit, so corner cutting. So that's going to be interesting, especially if Combs. I was going to say, especially if Combs doesn't get away, but I think we all know the answer to that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he will. Although he hasn't had to gap Pangrio yet after a restart. It's only been his teammate. So maybe Pangrio's had a bit more pace than he's been able to show on those restarts. And now it's a reset button in terms of race pace. So maybe he's got that opportunity. They're on equal tyres, so we'll see how their pace compares.
Maciek on 2 warnings himself as well. As bad as just left the session after crashing out, causing this safety car. Jesper Fay, let's have a look at him. So he's one of the only other drivers to not be in the penalties. He's also on 2 warnings. It's last chance saloon for many of these drivers today, with the last third of the race to go.
Yeah. Field has closed up now, so we should be underway for you at the end of this one. We should be able to give you 8 racing laps, I think. Am I right? 9, probably 9 racing laps once they've crossed the line the next time. So probably not one of those late race restarts that ends up with just a crash fest because everybody's treating it like a 5-lapper. Hopefully there's a sufficient amount of the race left and tyre deck preservation need to be going on that people won't be too silly. But these guys know what they're doing. I was going to say Konis almost goes off the track.
Just looking there.
Wow.
Pangrio very close to his rear here.
Yeah. Pangrio is he knows his best opportunity to get on the top step is going to be heading down to turn 1 for the first time, but Konis really getting ragged, trying to get some heat back into these inters. So we know when he went before, and Pangrio will know when he went before, and he's gone slightly early. Yeah, really, really good restart timing there from Konis, but Pangrio
and
kept...
another one, Sosa in the wall.
Oh no, I was looking at Pachuca, who's on his way past Maciek, making use of these brand new inters. Nice move, and Maciek will be hoping just to follow Pachuca now and get a bit of a gap on Giroud behind, but it's really tricky situation now for Maciek, trying to fight off all these fresh tired drivers. But we lost Sousa into the wall quite late on into the start finish straight, Josh.
Yeah, it would have been one of those ones where you think you've gotten past the traction zone, you're in gear 4 or 5, you've got the foot down, and it happens a lot with people who run low on throttle differential. So you'll think in your head and with your peripherals that you've got on the traction because both the wheels are spinning in unison. But sometimes after the traction zones, I've done it myself in Austria. Turn 3, once you go through slow corners, sometimes medium corners like this one, the wheels just go out of sync and they start spinning, and you just get a wheel spin in one of the left or right. So it can cause wear on dominant sides, left or right, depending on the track. But yeah, that's probably what's happened. He's had a bit of a tank slapper just as he comes around the corner, thinks he's got the grip, and then he's been fooled.
That and the cold tyre situation, I guess, for the restart, definitely. Just catching him out. Track obviously gets a little bit wetter when the cars aren't running around at full speed. Maciek just got a 3-second penalty, Josh, track extension, so that's ruined the strategy of trying to hang on.
That's going to feel like a left-right good night for him there, because that's his only banking for this race is probably getting that 5-second remove, so having that 3 seconds just takes away his advantage. Well, his slight advantage from Giroud, Miguel and Waffles and Edzak, because obviously those tyres being as old as they are, saying the 3 seconds is an advantage is probably not quite fair, because those tyres are definitely worth a lot more than 3 seconds for the guys behind him.
Yeah, definitely agree. So we've got a lot of very close running going on. Miguel probably closest to anybody in the midfield, but if the question we asked during the last safety car was has Pangrio got the pace to keep with Konis, and I think the answer is no. By the look of things, he's dropped. He's been dropped by 2 seconds, just over a lap of running. So Konis just dropping the hammer, and he's away. Really in a class of his own.
He had to set up a move on Maciek. It's a very nice exit at the final corner there.
Well, I was watching Miguel just behind, so yeah, Giroud definitely strong in that final sector. Will he launch one? He's not quite there with him. Maciek's braking is smooth and late and resists any temptation. But Giroud's got loads more grip here. You can just see how those newer tyres are working better for him as they go through that almost flat turn 3, Josh.
Yeah, you can see just what the lines that Giroud's able to take as he goes inside of Maciek. But I think Giroud not sending it there has cost him so much for the drivers behind, because they're all on similar tyre degradation. I think you need to just risk it, get it up that inside, similar to Daniel Ricciardo and Seb Vettel in the past years. And real F1. It's really bad for Giroud, actually, he's the subject of our talk.
Yeah. Really unfortunate to catch another penalty at that point. I mean, I suppose nobody forced him off the track, so can't really complain bad luck or any action. I've seen the way Miguel approaches turn 11. I feel like I need to take a step back every time. He's always sort of sideways going through 11 there, Josh. It's very very nerve-wracking for me.
I'm watching Miguel now, and I'm not seeing any short shifting, so it makes me think that he's on also gearbox, which is probably why he's struggling so much in that corner, because he's revving it out, trying to be in that fourth or fifth going into that corner. But with the automatic gearbox, it's just not going out quick enough, and he's just revving out the rears to high RPM for the corner to handle.
Giroud got it all kinds of wrong through 2, but there's no way through here for Miguel. You were saying about launching one into turn 1. There is room to play around the turn 1, 2, 3 switchbacks.
Yeah.
If you're willing to give it a go. Miguel courting danger there, putting one wheel on the grass on the exit of turn 4 as well. Driver's starting to get a bit confident, and Miguel, big slap of oversteer on the way out, and all that progress lost to Giroud ahead.
Yeah, definitely. I think Miguel really needs to just tighten up now. I think he needs to focus on just getting the basics done correct. He should be seeing Giroud with that extra penalty and just focusing on maybe getting that P4, and hopefully Maciek drops down to him naturally as the race goes on, because those tyres are not getting any better.
They're not, and he's just got another penalty, so really adding up now on completely the wrong tyres, having to overdrive the car, I think, just to keep the cars behind him. And at what point do you just stop doubling down on a bad strategic call, Josh, and a car that's difficult to handle?
I think at this point it's bottom of the grid either way. There's 11 drivers on track. So
here comes Giroud down into turn 1, but
listen to the stream. Not quite though.
He gave it a go.
You've just got to be arrogant, I think, in a situation like this. You've got to risk the little bit of wheel banging, the little bit of late braking, and just make sure the corner is guaranteed yours. I think it's that I think there's controlled aggression in league racing, which is something really hard to master. I've had major problems with it. In my time league racing, I've always had a good enough pace racecraft, but when it comes to overtaking, all I'm thinking about is the risks, and I'm not thinking about the benefits of taking the risk, which is what I think you need to have the controlled aggression to be able to do so and to get the rewards from the risks.
And you don't want the driver in front to just be too comfortable either, and just think that you're not going to have a go. Because I think more accidents happen when you get so frustrated you go for it. If you're going to go for it, you might as well be making attempts. We saw Smith-Shah, a temporary yellow flag, and we saw Smith-Shah missing a front wing. He's just adding to the woes of Aston Martin tonight, but we're staying in the race at this point for him because he's only one position off the lead, off getting points tonight. Giroud on the inside again. Magic quite happy to let him run round the outside through there, but it looks like this time Giroud's going to hold on. Nice move, very clean, very crisp between the two of them.
Probably a weird comparison this, but with the way Giroud was biting at his rear constantly in the corner, and you never know if he's going to make the move. It's like feints in boxing. If you're not making the driver ahead know that you're going to do something, or sometimes you're not. They always know how to plant the car, how to position themselves to defend you. But if you're always making that move and trying to snake around your opponent, it's always nice to have, because it's the thought of not knowing what is going to come that has helped Giroud there.
Yeah. Now, we saw Smith-Shah has retired from the session, and he stopped around pit entry. I wonder if he had the same... yes, he did have the same incident that we saw earlier. There's a wheel left in the pit lane entry. What are you seeing? Is that an Alfa Romeo?
That looks like a lot of stewards, I think. Miguel was just stopped in the middle of the track for some reason. Everyone concertinaed, a lot of damage, I think, for some drivers.
Wow,
I was initially going to say, I think
Waffles is struggling. He was just in the gravel on the last corner, Josh. It's all going wrong.
I didn't catch it all of it, but Miguel, I think Miguel just stopped the track. I have no clue why. What I expect has happened is Miguel has swung the front end.
Right.
And he's had to slam the brakes on to make sure it doesn't spin, but I think it's cost the drivers behind him. Fry's undoubtedly got damage there, as he's struggling to get on the track. He's definitely going to be absolutely fuming with it. What I was going to say is Jesper Frey, he was sat behind all of them before the incident happened. He was going to jump all of them due to his cleanness on penalty, so respect to him. He's got the reward of getting ahead of them on track anyways. But yeah,
absolutely.
Something for the stewards there.
we could end up seeing a clean top 4. In fact, let me just check on penalties. Maciek's got 11 seconds, so I do think Jesper Fey's got a chance of getting a P4 out of this one.
Cones?
Yeah, Konis with a 3-second penalty, and that one is going to be huge for Pangrio, who's only 3.5 behind him. So Konis now has to push even harder, and Pangrio needs controlled aggression to regain that position without catching a penalty himself. So wow, late race, high deg situation, 10 lap old mediums, 10 lap old inters for the drivers, slightly older for Pachuca, and it's now the danger zone. I think this is when we're going to see some drama. 3 laps to go. 2 in fact, now that Konis has crossed the line, but Pangrio 3.7 seconds this gap, and he's got a chance at a win here, Josh.
He has, but I think Combs knows that he's got the natural benefit on Pangrio, even if tyres are at any point different because of his just raw pace. So hopefully he's just being controlled, knows that he can just put the last 2 laps in at similar pace to some of his old ones. Obviously he pushed into the sub 26s earlier on the fastest lap, so I think he's just controlling himself now, keeping it calm, and getting to the final checkered lap.
We just heard from here from Waffles X3, who says, nice job guys, wow, as he visits the pits to get around. He's obviously not happy.
Please record that, we'll have to see that.
Yeah.
Because it did look quite poor from my point of view. It did seem like Miguel had what I think had happened is he's going around the right hand side, he's lost the front end, and when you do lose the front end in such corners which are like that, you can't steer it back because the front end is what you've lost, not the rears, and you can't steer your rears. So the only thing you can do is just slam the brakes, stop the car from rotating. But I think that's what's cost the guys behind. I'll be interested to see if I'm a bit of a mystic Mac with that. I hope that's not why, because I'd be quite disappointed in Miguel, because I think you just can't do that, especially on a part of the track where everyone's taking similar lines because of the tightness of it. But yeah, hopefully there's a different story behind it.
Pangrio is staying with Konis' pace, but I think he can't afford to push too hard and gain a penalty himself, and that will just open up the chance in following for Pachuca. So Konis, ironically, after catching a penalty, can now afford to push and get another warning or 2 in this last couple of races. One of the drivers say that his controller's disconnected 2 times in a row last week in Hungary and today. I'm afraid I can't tell which driver that is because we have this naming situation going on in Ero.
Cone's setting a fastest lap on the old tyres, which tells me that the track is drying out a bit, I think.
Yeah, I think the boss just said in the chat that Waffles had better go out there and get the fastest lap, but he's not going to with a 3-second penalty. Although I have seen people get the.
You can actually.
You can't you?
It's just the individual warning.
Very tricky, very cheeky. Yeah. But Konis is on his victory lap at the moment. I think he's got this one in the bag. I think we've got our podium as they stand on the road, and the only thing left to see is whether Jesper Fey manages to gain positions on Maciek and Giroud at the end. See that the drivers can hold on. Just a few corners left now for Konis, who has been imperious each time the safety cars reduced his gap to nothing. He's on his way.
Konis is actually low on fuel. He's actually flashing red, so he manages the weight of the car very well, which is definitely probably something he can push to why his pace has been very consistent. On the way probably.
Ooh, slightly sideways on the way out, but it's win number 7 for Konis this season, and will be very close to a championship claim in the next 2 races. Pangrio second place. Pachuca crosses the line to further McLaren's positioning in the lead of our Constructors' Championship as well. Just wait to see when Jesper Fay crosses the line as to which position he can get. Oh, he gets up there and just misses out on P4 with his teammate Giroud ahead. Then Bios overtakes Maciek on penalties as well. Maciek in P7. Looks like, I think Edzak will be so far behind that he'll stay in 8th as he crosses the line, yes. And then Miguel and Waffles with the late race issues they had. Miguel about to cross the line here and get 10th.
News. Michalitzi's just put in the comments that Lewis Hamilton has been disqualified.
Yeah, we'll have to get confirmation on that, but yeah, that's very interesting. Waffles crosses the line. I didn't see if he got fastest lap on that final tour, but maybe he had damage. Jesper Fay, driver of the day for presumably places gained. I don't know if you've got a different idea for driver of the day from your seat, Josh.
Sorry, I was just looking at my phone a sec after
Sorry?
hearing about Lewis. Who did you put forward for your driver of the day, sorry?
I didn't, but just the game said that Jesper Fay. I presume that was a simple calculation.
I would definitely put yes, but he's been out with the dramas. He's been calm and collected, and he's gone the whole 50% race period without a penalty to his name. So
yeah, very
P5
good.
deserved. Unlucky to not get P4. I think without some of the mishaps involving Miguel earlier, maybe he could have had a chance. But well done to the top 3 for being consistent and keeping it going. Well done to Pangria to getting past Patuca. Obviously, it was down to Patuca's error, but you can't take away a nice P2 after starting on the 3rd row.
Definitely. Maximum points then for Konis, Pangria, Patuca, Giroud, Jesper Fay, Bios, Maciek, Edzak, Miguel and Waffles all score points tonight, and non-finishes Smith, Shah, Souza, Banks, Gonga, Kaizachi, Casper and Pezzi. Right at the back, very early retirement. That was our very wet Spanish Grand Prix for you. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like the video on your way out if you're heading out right now. Share it on socials. Subscribe to the Ero channel. There's many divisions of racing through the weekend for everybody to enjoy. And I say I've been Webbo. We've had Josh, unknown F2 driver, and commentator for F1 driver Josh. I hate to besmirch you. You've been in many of the different different divisions of Ero. We're currently F1 driver and amazing artist as well. Do check out Josh's artwork online. But yeah, if you like the commentary, follow me at WebberRed5 on Twitter. Josh, drop your Twitter handle and we'll say goodbye.
Reverse Sinasi on Twitter for me. I just want to say well done to Webber for starting his commentary in IRL, I believe, is it?
I do IRL, yep.
So take a look at that if you want to. Webber is one of my favourite commentators in F1 scene, so keep an eye out for some of his races, because no matter what they are, they're entertaining. So that's all I have to say today. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the race, and we'll be live for F2 pretty soon.
Awesome.
You go on the Discord to see the timings, and then we'll have F1 tomorrow, which is a late kickoff. Well, I say kickoff, late start after the Sao Paulo Grand Prix at 8:15. If you want to come and watch me and support the Williams boys over there, because me and Funky have definitely got a lot to do up until then to try and gain anything from that race. So yeah, we'll hopefully see you there as well.
Nice one. Thanks, Josh. Really appreciate the co-commentary today. Made a tricky condition, slightly formation type race much more enjoyable. But thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for all the engagement and for everyone involved in running the division. And we will catch you on the next race day.